Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Gooner on Facebook and on YouTube. And welcome to the season review, the 2019-2020 season. And we've had quite a dramatic season. We've had quite a shit season, but it's been quite dramatic for all the wrong reasons. And we're gonna go into that in the show. So listen, let's get into introducing my guests. And first of all, he's obviously taking a break from Fortnite, is Simpy. How are you, Simpy?
Yeah, I've been playing with Ozil, me and him. He bought me some V-Bucks, so I'm just spending them wisely. But yeah, I'm good, Daniel. I'm looking forward to the show. It's been a while.
It certainly has. And we've also got Sam Kalp. How are you?
Hey man, thanks for getting me here. Very good. In fact, I mean, especially after the FA Cup win, great way to end the season, and looking forward to the session, right?
Yeah. And last but by no means least, Sam Greenwood. How are you, Sam?
Last but not least, definitely a nice way of introducing me. Yeah, thanks for having me as usual, Daniel. It's always a pleasure to be here with these guys. You know, it's always good. Everyone in the chat, all the regulars are there. It's great to see. So yeah, looking forward to this one. It'd be good.
Yeah. And so guys, the way this is going to work is what we're going to do is we're going to talk about. I've split it into 3 parts. So the first part is we're going to talk about from August to the end of October, and then the second part we're going to talk about from November through to January, and then obviously we're going to talk about from like the end of the season, which has been the most recent. We'll obviously miss out the bit where we had a long break and all the pandemic stuff. So that's the way it's going to work. So if you remember last August, I know it's quite a while back. I know before we started the season, we went into it with a lot of optimism. You know, we just signed Kieran Tierney. We had just signed David Luiz on deadline day. So we, and obviously we signed Pepe, and we went into it. A lot of people were tipping that we could have made the top 4. A lot of people were saying that. I've seen a lot of. At the time, I saw a lot of media reports suggesting that we should at least be pushing for the top 4, and so. What I want to ask you guys is, where did it go wrong? Because we started so well. If you remember the first couple of games, we had a 1-0 win up at Newcastle, and then we had, if I remember rightly, I think we had Burnley.
Yeah,
the next
2-1.
game. Yeah, 2-1 against Burnley, and then we had Spurs and Liverpool, I believe, were the next 2 fixtures. And then obviously after that, it just seemed to fall apart. Cracks started to appear, with under Unai Emery, the players you could see that were starting to just not really take to his ideas, and coupled with reports coming out that they weren't really following him in the dressing room, and the dressing room was a bit disjointed. And so what do you guys make of that whole situation? Simpy, I'm going to start with you first.
Well, like you were saying, the whole transfer window we had in the summer, bringing in Pepe, that was like the marquee signing, because obviously Man United wanted him, Napoli wanted him, Liverpool wanted him, and some other clubs wanted him. We got him. We brought in Tierney, which at the time he was injured. I think he was still injured, so it was something to come in soon. And then David Luiz again was a bit of a shaky one, but we thought for that price, maybe it's going to work out. Going into the games, started against Newcastle well. I think it was Ainsley Maitland-Niles assisted Aubameyang, and we won that game 1-0. And then, like you were saying, cracks started to appear. I think that Liverpool game, we had Pepe, and that was where that meme came around with Pepe holding Van Dijk on a leash. And we could say this, even though we lost the game to Liverpool fans, it was, yeah, but Pepe dribbled past Van Dijk. He broke Van Dijk's 5,000 game record where he's not been dribbled past or something like that. But yeah, up until that time, Daniel, like I'm just looking at the fixtures we had here. Obviously, one game in there that springs to mind is that game away to Watford where we were 2-0 up. And if you remember, we were like pretty much all games under Emery. We were getting about 60 shots fired at Leno every day. And that's why Leno was like the top save goalkeeper along with Dubravka at the time. And we were 2-0 up and Guendouzi gets subbed off to the Watford fans, sticks his finger up going 2-0, and then 20 minutes later it ends 2-2. So there was that, for example. And then, like you were saying, stuff started to go downhill. We're in the Europa League. We got a big away win, which was something we hadn't done in a while. I remember at the time I was driving at the time and listened to it on the radio, and the goals came in, and that was a big way win there at Frankfurt. Then we had the game against Aston Villa. We won 3-2, and that was where Chambers got the winner, I think, and Maitland-Niles got sent off. But yeah, things started to look okay, but we could see, like you were saying, cracks were appearing. Obviously, going up to Sheffield United, we lost that game as well. But then Europa League, we started to do well. I think that probably covers up all the time that you've mentioned towards October.
Yeah, and Sam, for you as well. Sam.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to start off by saying that, looking at the I mean, not only did we get some decent signings, like that very exciting marquee signing in Pepe and Tierney, everyone was excited about him. And yeah, Luiz was a bit controversial, but we still thought he would do a decent job. And I remember everyone was buzzing with our transfer dealing. So we've had a really good window. It's like they said, maybe with the exception of maybe we should have sold one or two more players. Apart from that, everyone was like, we've had a really good transfer window. I remember everyone saying it, and everyone saying with the squad we have, if Emery's going to do the job, we should be pushing for top 4. And I remember everyone thinking that, and we were all excited for the season to come. And then the pre-season came, and we looked good pre-season as well. I mean, we beat Bayern Munich, we beat Fiorentina, we played Real Madrid. We were better than them. I know we drew, but we still played better than them and had quite a few chances. I remember we looked quite good against them. And, I remember people were buzzing pre-season thinking this is looking good, and just a little side note on the pre-season. Remember everyone just went completely mental on the fixtures we had against Charlton and Brentford before we started now. Our first pre-season fixture was a 3-3 draw away at Boreham Wood. Now, why wasn't everyone coming out in the streets protesting then, thinking we were going to have a shit season then? Why was it then people realised it was a friendly fixture when we played 3-3 against Boreham Wood, and then when we play Brentford and lose against Brentford, who by the way are in the playoff final now against Fulham and a decent team, everyone just melted completely. Anyway, fickle fans, we all know. I'm just saying, it just shows you the contrast, how ridiculous and knee-jerk reactionary people are. But yeah, so we got into the season, the thing started okay. That 1-0 victory up at St James's Park, which is always a difficult place to go, and then we were looking decent, and then things just started to slowly fall apart towards when we got towards the end of October. Towards October, when we're pushing through September, the Watford game. The Villa game where we really struggled to win. We struggled against Palace. The crack showed that it was like the team. The morale wasn't there, and we saw the midfield were just not up for it. And we saw Emery changing everything every game. Right, that was the thing. Emery every game was different tactically, team selection wise. It was like we're going in towards the November period, and when everything really came apart in November, that's when the wheels really went off the bus. And then he still couldn't figure out a starting lineup or a set tactic, and then that's when we realised it was the start of the end really for Emery, wasn't it, at that time?
Yeah, and for you, Sam Colt as well. Where do you think it went? Where do you think it went wrong?
I kind of agree with Simpy and Sam. For me, Watford game was the turning point. Suddenly, we were leading 2-0 right in the first half, and suddenly by the end of the match, we had considered around 30 shots on target, right? And we changed our tactics. We started playing a lot closer to our own goal post, right? I think Socrates gave away the first goal very easily, and then it kind of bombarded. And just after that, I think things were never the same, right? Aston Villa, we conceded again a lot of shots. We conceded 2 goals from them. Then, if you guys remember the United match, we were nowhere close to United team, right? We just hung on for a lot of time, and somehow, thanks to a blunder, we got a goal from Saka assist and Aubameyang goal. And then the Sheffield match kind of showed the entire turn of events. Sheffield match, we were never in control. Obviously, there were a couple of decisions which we can debate about, but from a play point of view, they were dominating us left, right, center. Right. So from the Watford match onwards, we just had a lot of losses in concentration, a lot of lapses. The team strategy formations kept on changing, revolving. Torreira playing quite a lot ahead. He was almost trying to play in the position of Ozil, but obviously that quality was never there. So he used to leave back a lot of space at the back. It was unnecessary. I don't know. Emery was confused. The tactics were confused. There was something which had to stop, right? And that finally led to a dismissal. I mean, after a long time in Arsenal history, right, we had a mid-season dismissal of a coach, of Emery.
Yeah, and I guess as well, because there was so much expectation at the start of the season, and you could see, like, the first couple of games, you could see we were grinding the wins, and then sort of after that, you could see the cracks visibly starting to appear in the team, and and when reports were coming out about players not understanding their roles and not quite getting it, and I think that had a lot to do with Emery. Emery, you could see that he wanted to try and make the players do certain things that they weren't comfortable at doing. And listen, when you've got a squad like ours, you can't do that. You can't expect players to go out their comfort zone, because not many of these players are adaptable. What you've got to do is home in on their strengths and just make them use their strengths rather than try and make them do something that they can't do. And I think he tried to do too much, and it was kind of a bit weird, because he, last season, the season before, he was playing, he was grinding the results out. He was playing Torreira in his natural position. He was playing players in their positions, and then for whatever reason, this season he was starting to move players out of position and tinker with something, and I think that's why a lot of fans questioned his decision making, because it was successful the previous season. We'd finished, I think it was a point off the top 4. We got to Europa final, although we hadn't done brilliantly in the Europa final, he still got us there. And I think up until 8 games till the end of last season, and that was when, for me, I think things started to change a little bit, because we had the easiest running in the top 4, and even he started to change things then, and we sort of, as fans, gave him the summer, and obviously we had a brilliant transfer window, the best that we could have possibly had in the current situation. and then obviously it just never really picked up since the start of the season. Although we were grinding out results, it was papering over cracks. And then obviously, going into October, we had that massive situation with Granit Xhaka where Emery made him captain, and then obviously he did what he did, and I think for me that was probably the tipping point. So what I want to ask you guys is, when was the final straw for you guys with Unai Emery? When was it? When everybody has their own individual turning points. So everybody will back him, and then all of a sudden people will be like, "Nah, that's it. Now he needs to go." So, what point and what moment for you was the turning point under Unai Emery? So Sam, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, I fully agree. That ending of the previous season, that we really should have just got a top 4 spot quite easily, really, with those final fixtures we had, and we just completely messed it up. And a lot of it is down to Emery and his team selection, the tactics. Players weren't motivated, and then on top of that, the final. That Europa League final, where again, just completely hashed that. And but for me, I didn't want to get rid of him, because I was thinking, okay, I want to give this guy a bit more of a chance to see if he can turn it around. Give him a transfer window, the summer transfer window, bring in some players that he wants, and try and guide us in the direction that he thinks we should be going, and get to see his ideas, on this squad, working with this squad. And then we had the transfer window. We had everyone, as we just mentioned, everyone was very optimistic about. And we thought, wow, we can push on here. And everyone was thinking we should be able to at least fight for the top 4. If not get into the top 4, but at least fight for the top 4 with that squad and our transfer dealings. And then it started okay, and then it just got worse and worse and worse as we got through October and into November. And I think the turning point for me was actually that period around the Watford game there, when things it was just clear then that at that point Emery still did not have a team he knew he could start with. He was playing playing players still out of position, and the tactics were changing all the time. It was like he still couldn't figure out how to best get these players to play. And when you're doing that in October, and you've already been there, through quite a lot of the previous season, it's then you start wondering, is this the guy for the job? And that's when I really started to raise serious questions. Is, okay, this guy still hasn't got a clue, and we're still not getting anywhere at this point, then this guy's never going to figure it out. He's never gonna get us there. And together with all the communication problems with the squad, and the internal issues with Xhaka and Ozil and all what was going on there, and with the board and all of that, and it all piled on. He couldn't handle all that pressure. He couldn't handle all the man management and all the politics in the dressing room and all of that. It was just it was clear that the job at Arsenal was too tough and too big a step forward for him, and it just became very clear. And then, as I said, with the Watford game, where we just completely basic. God knows how we managed that game. I mean, we were completely thrashed, really, that game, and then all the games afterwards, when we were getting 20 plus shots against us every game, we were just waiting to get beat. But we managed to scrape out draws because of Aubameyang's world class finishing. It was basically Aubameyang kept in, and I remember everyone was saying at that time, at that November period, towards the summer when things were really going bad, we were actually at relegation form. We were down bottom half of the table, and we were at relegation form, and we was all getting really seriously worried. And that's when, after that Watford game, that's when I realised this guy is not up for it, and we needed to make a change.
Yeah, the Watford game, I remember that because I was there, and it was just horrendous the way we took the lead. And that's the thing. that's the thing as well, which really struck me, is that more often than not, in a lot of those draws, we would often take the lead, but we seem to lack the ability to build on it or hold out, and that for me it was pretty bad, and you could see that the players just didn't. They were losing faith in the manager. They were losing faith in what they were being told to do, and you could see that. Simpy, for you, what was the turning point? The moment where you?
Oh, sorry, Daniel.
No, I was just going to say, what was the moment for you when you thought, no, Unai Emery's not right for the job?
There was a couple of points, like similar to like what Sam said. It was kind of like the end of last season, obviously, where he decided to field out players that we knew shouldn't really be at the club, like El Neni, Jenkinson, etc. I think that was at the Brighton game, maybe the last game, and a couple of games before. So he put all the eggs into the Europa League basket, which didn't work. So then I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt after that. It was a bit annoying because obviously we lost the final and we also lost our top 4 chances as well in the league. So I was like, okay, he's only been here a season. Well, yeah, 2 seasons, I was going to say. Give him some more time. Give him a window. Brought in Pepe, brought in David Luiz, brought in Tierney. I was like, okay, this is a good window. Let's see what he can do. Started off okay, then started bringing up those results, those draws where there could have been wins, those losses where there could have been draws, and like we've all mentioned, the shots conceded rate was insane. It was just anyone could have a shot on our team, and yeah, it was just mad. I think some points similar to like what Omar said, the Palace game is one as well where questions got to ask. Like you said, and Sam said, the Watford game. To me, it's a couple of them really was that Europa League game against that Victoria, where I think we conceded 2 goals at home to them. And was that the game? Was that the game where Pepe scored the 2 free kicks to get?
I think we won. Yeah, we won it 2-1. So I remember. I think they scored first, and then Pepe scored his 2 free kicks right at the end, and we won it.
Yeah, so I think a game like that against, no offense to any of Victoria fans, but against a nobody team, and we couldn't set up well there, and we fielded quite a good squad. But the main one really was the Southampton game, and the game that actually got him fired, that Frankfurt game, because if it wasn't for that favour from, was it? No, not Frankfurt. Who else was in our group? Victoria, Frankfurt, and someone else, and they ended up beating, I think, one of the teams, which made us qualify for the next round. I think.
Who did we have? We had
Victoria, Frankfurt.
We have Victoria, Frankfurt,
Saint Liège, Standard Liège.
Standard Liège, yeah, Standard Liège, yeah.
Yeah, so then it was like get him out. I think that was kind of the right time because, that kind of gave us then whichever the next manager could come in, have like kind of like a January transfer window. I know some people might have said it would have been a bold move. Like if I was to say we should have got Emery out at before the start of the season, so the new manager could come in and spend on the players he wants. But Arsenal, like myself, all I've known about Arsenal is Arsene Wenger, and it's not like a team like Chelsea that chop and change the managers every couple of seasons, really. But yeah, in my opinion, it's that Frankfurt game really where we could have actually got knocked out of Europa League, but we didn't, thanks to some favours by some other joker team. But yeah, all the best for him at Villarreal now, where hopefully someone else is going to take the pen lids off for him if he can't do it himself.
And what about you, Sam Carl? What about you? What was the turning point for you with Emery?
Like others, I think the doubts started appearing towards the end of the season, last season, right? Be it the final, which was symbolic, right? And the effects could be seen the next season. But obviously the transfers gave us hope. For me, I think a couple of matches, the Watford match, obviously, where we gave away a 2-goal lead, and we were very poor in the second half. I think the match against United is something which really, got me, pissed because we had started the entire match. We played very defensively. We were not trying to win. And if you remember, the United team had not settled back then, right? Even the United team was playing as poorly as us. And still, we made very little attempt to try and win the game. We were playing for a draw right from the start of the match, and that got me really right. At that point of time, I was completely moving out of that middle, not Unai in or out phase to Unai out phase. And obviously, there are a lot of people who are saying we are still getting results, right? We are not getting wins, we are not getting losses, we are getting draws. But the kind of play that we were showing, it started showing in October and November, right? I think we went 2 months without a win, without a single win. It was only draws and losses.
Yeah. I think what we'll do is we'll pause here and we'll read some chats out. So Simpy, if you'd like to do the honours of reading some chats out.
Yeah, sure. I'll start from the most recent ones.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about when we turned on Emery, Chadwick came and said he thought it was when I was at the Southampton, the game Southampton was. Oh, sorry, that isn't that game. Sorry, I thought he meant like the Southampton game. I think he was talking about the Southampton Man City game. Omar said Palace 2-2 draw at home when he knew that he had to go. And he said, for me, the perfect time to sack him would have been when we lost 2-0 to Leicester just before the international break back in November.
Yeah.
And then Tayyip came in and said he thinks that the sacking was just on time because at least Arteta managed to come in and win us an FA Cup. And Haidgar says, yeah, he was disappointed when Emery gave the captaincy to Xhaka. Then, there's some talk about some signings in the chat as well. Watford 2-2, Ilias says, when he started saying Emery out, but he wanted him gone after Baku last year. And then Jahid said he wanted Emery out since he started to drop out.
Yeah, listen, it's all well and good. I think for me, the turning point for me was probably the Frankfurt game, and that is maybe a push because a lot of people were saying he should have gone then, but I think from the Frankfurt game, I sort of actually no, scratch that. It wasn't the Frankfurt game for me. It was the I think a week before we played Brighton, and then that was for me. I said back then, I said if this guy's in a job like a week later or a couple of weeks later, it's going to be criminal because you could see he was struggling, and you could tell that he just wasn't. He wasn't up to the task. And you could tell even with the players that they weren't playing for him. They had completely down tools, absolutely 100% down tools. And then obviously the Frankfurt game where where it was just a nightmare, and you could see that things were happening. Things were going to happen. I remember that week of the Frankfurt game, there was talk of the the Cronkies coming over to London, and and you sort of knew then that something was about to happen because it's pretty obvious that with all the pressure that was on, and the I think it was the top guys had met up in America and then come back over here. You sort of got the feeling that something big was going to happen, and then obviously on the Friday morning, it came out that Emery was sacked. So listen, what we'll do now is we'll move on from the Emery, and obviously it led to Freddie Ljungberg's appointment. So the second part of the show now is we're going to look at November to January, and then obviously it was a big big November to January because we had the appointment of Freddie Ljungberg as interim manager, and he was in charge. I think was it 3 or 4 games he took charge of. I don't think it was many at all, was it? I don't.
4, no 5.
I think
5 games.
5. So he was in charge, and even under Freddie Ljungberg, there wasn't really much change, was there? There wasn't really a lot of improvement, apart from the fact that I think we won against West Ham away, but there wasn't really a lot of improvement. And me personally, and I put this down to the fact that he was part of Emery's coaching team, so I don't really think I think the players looked at him and thought, well, you're part of the previous regime, which we struggled under and we didn't like. And I don't really fully think that they was fully behind Freddie Ljungberg. I don't think that they, as fans, we were, Freddie Ljungberg, an invincible, a legend. We had respect for him and credit to him for taking the interim job on, but I don't think the players really fully were behind Ljungberg in the way that we were. So I'm going to come to you first, Sam. What did you make of the whole Freddie Ljungberg situation as interim manager and the players playing for him and not really getting behind him? What did you make of that whole period?
Yeah, I think Freddie Ljungberg came in and basically he was handed a very difficult task. I mean, the players were not playing well. The level of motivation was very low. The spirits in the squad was low. There was still the matter of finding out how to make the squad play together. The tactics were still undecided, and I think it was very difficult for Ljungberg to come in and take over that. But what I think with Ljungberg, it was clear for him that he was just the interim manager. I mean, I remember there was talk of, if he does a good job, he might be offered the job full time. I don't think that was ever going to be an option because first of all, I don't think Ljungberg wanted the job full time. I think he just realised he had the job because he was assistant. He had the job as just interim, and I remember him saying, to the press basically that they need to figure out, the board needs to figure out what to do and get them resources, everything, because it was when Emery left and he took all his coaches, staff and everything with him, Ljungberg was left with nothing. Ljungberg there was just bare bones there. There was basically no one there to help him. He had no staff. It was just him and a few others that were left there. And
Mertesacker, wasn't it? Mertesacker come in and helped him out.
And then Mertesacker left the youth team to come and help out with the first team duties. And things were they were a mess. They were a complete mess at that time. Throughout the whole club from top to bottom. And I think it was clear that that when they didn't give him sort of resources, they were thinking, we're going to bring someone in, and that person who comes in is going to bring in, his team, and they're going to give him resources. So I think it was very clear that Ljungberg wasn't going to be, and he knew that himself, he wasn't going to be the full-time manager. I think he did a decent job. He got, a couple of draws, didn't he? And he did a decent job, but it was a very difficult job for him to take over, and I must say I was disappointed in the job he did because he didn't really stamp any real authority or change on the team or anything like that. It was just he just continued what Emery was doing, but just with a couple of tweaks here and there that he wanted to do. It was basically the same formation, very similar lineups. And I remember everyone saying, well, what's the difference between this and Emery? And there wasn't really much difference at all, so... And it didn't really go very well either, So I don't think Ljungberg really is a first team manager, full manager. I think he works better as a coach and as an assistant. So yeah, I think that's what we saw with Ljungberg, and he just sort of kept things going in that direction until we could bring in someone else. And it wasn't looking too good, to be honest. But he did a decent job, and he certainly didn't do a worse job than Emery. That's for sure. So and then we he managed to bring in Arteta.
I think the problem is, and the way I look at it is, I felt very sorry for Ljungberg, because they had the board had essentially thrown him to the wolves by he took over, and they didn't give him no support, and it's very hard to put a stamp on your team when you know that you're only there for an interim period of and as it happened, he wasn't there, in my opinion, for long enough to put a stamp on a team. And I felt a little bit. Listen, I'm sure Freddie would be a great manager one day with the experience, and I felt that a lot of fans were judging him harshly under the circumstances because he didn't get us support. He was. I wouldn't say he was out of his depth, because he didn't really. I'd just say he was not helped. He didn't have any help. He didn't have any backing from the board. They just said, "Listen, you take charge while we try and figure this other stuff out and trying to find a guy." And the board spent their whole time in trying to obviously bring in Arteta, that they forgot about Freddie and what he was trying to do and trying to steady the ship. And they didn't really give him enough help. And the one thing that I liked about Freddie is that he'd come in, and every press conference he was saying, "Listen, I need help. I can't do this on my own." You could tell in the press conference he was going, "I need help. I'm getting next to no help. The board, we need a conclusion to the managerial situation, and I need support." And I remember. I remember watching the press conferences and feeling so sorry for the guy. As a legend of the football club, he's done wonders on the pitch, and yet he gets almost thrown to the wolves. Because listen, we all know, and everybody on this panel, we all know how judgmental the Arsenal fan base is, and how reactionary we are, and because he wasn't getting the results and stuff, and things weren't going his way, I feared for Freddie. I feared for his legendary status at the club. I said I hope fans don't turn on Freddie, because he's not bringing the instant change and instant results that we all want. And I felt a little bit sorry for the guy. Sam Cole, what's your take on the Freddie Ljungberg situation?
Very similar to you guys. Obviously, when he came on, there was a bit of hope. We keep on associating him with the invincible era. There's a success that is associated to his name, and of course, he has done some wonderful work at the academy, right? Be it Bukayo Saka, players like Saka, who keep on raving about him, how he intervened in ensuring that Saka remained at the academy and continued to grow. But as you guys said, right, he lacked support. I think when he started off very confident, right? He put the gauntlet down to the players and said, "Hey, whoever performs will play," right? And he was very clear and particular. He started Ozil, he dropped Ozil. He was very clear that I want my senior players to pick off, right? So a lot of positive statements, but to be honest, the job required at Arsenal requires a lot of complexity. The weakness that Arsenal has is not only a player-based or a structure-based weakness, it was a combination of both, right? Even now under Arteta, and we have now spent considerable time under Arteta, we have not resolved all the problems, right? To give him 5 games, to not give him any coaching staff, just does not make any sense, right? So it was a bad move from the management side. They were still thinking whether to go ahead with Arteta now or at the end of the season, right? That's the debate that was there. In the meanwhile, Ljungberg was expected to, steady the ship, which was very, very difficult. We had a couple of tricky games which went away. We drew them, and obviously we lost against Brighton, which again we lost under Arteta as well. We drew against Norwich, and we won against West Ham. We lost against City. And by then we knew that experiment could not have continued. Either you back him up properly if you actually are confident about him, or you go ahead with a new manager. And that's why towards the end, I think the last 2 matches he came out very publicly and said, "Hey, either you back me or just get someone new. We cannot go ahead with such an arrangement." And it made sense. Thankfully, we went ahead with Arteta, who got the time, to make changes and systematically, uh, make changes both in terms of play, in terms of structure, how he want to set the squad up. Because I remember, right, we had such discussions just after the lockdown, and we were still debating whether the Arteta move was correct or not, right? Because there were ample number of draws. We had a few wins. It's just that on the defensive side, we were looking just better, right? But with time, Arteta was able to resolve quite a lot of those issues. So that time was lacking for Lundberg, and of course, the support was lacking.
Yeah. Simpy, what did you make of it? The Freddie Ljungberg situation?
So yeah, obviously the news. Well, when Emery got sacked, I remember actually after that Frankfurt game, I put on a bet on Sky of Emery to be the next Premier League manager to get fired. And then I woke up in the morning with money in my account, so I was like, yeah. So that was pretty good. But yeah, bringing in Ljungberg, I think pretty much like all you guys have said. Obviously, Ljungberg, I think he was under 23 coach or manager, however you want to say it, and he's done like a really good job there. And I remember on Twitter, certain people were saying like, he's had this experience in the under 23s. He's going to come into the first squad. He can make the job in his own, and maybe when Arsenal are looking for a new manager, maybe they'll consider Ljungberg. But then, like you guys said, the whole thing about the staff. Obviously, like with this YouTube video, for example, if me, Sam, and Sankalp couldn't come, then Daniel will have a contingency to bring on Kevin and Nitesh. But it's like Arsenal had no contingency plan, and they just said, right, Emery's gone, get him out, and then Freddie's here. Yeah, like. What about my goalkeeping coach? What about my fitness coach? And then they're like, oh, no, don't worry. We'll sort it in 2-3 weeks' time. And then by that time, like Sankalp said, all the results, we picked up only the points at West Ham and then lost to Brighton again, lost to Man City. And then finally, the final straw was obviously the Everton-Arsenal game where Arteta and Ancelotti were there. And they both must have been looking at each other going like, do we really want this job? This is a bit crazy, because obviously that was that boring 0-0 draw where absolutely nothing happened. But apart from I thought he did okay. I think like we said, with the tools he had and the back in, they didn't really have much back in. But I was happy. The West Ham performance was great, and it was like we kind of all felt we got our Arsenal back. But then after that, he started to go downhill. But I'm glad he's still around though. He's still around doing work at Arsenal, and they didn't just get rid of him. But yeah, I thought he did okay, but it didn't ruin his legacy, and fans will always love him no matter what he does, to be honest, I think. Especially the female fans.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. They just, yeah. What are people saying in the chat simply about this? I'm trying to get down to the bottom, but there's fucking hundreds of chats.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
There's Facebook chats as well, so there's probably quite a lot of them.
Yeah, there was an interesting one I saw from Tyrone. So big up Tyrone. He said, "Yeah, 3 managers have been sacked after losing to Frankfurt," which is a bit of a good. So Frankfurt that bad then, Tyrone? That if you lose against them, you get sacked. And then I saw this one from Chadwick saying, "Daniel, I think I saw you on ESPN FC TV coverage outside Wembley, piggybacking on Simpy's back, screaming, 'Arsenal, God save the Queen!'
Who was that?
Chadwick.
Chadwick, you're a fucking joker, mate. Jesus Christ. I think you're smoking some shit or something. Yeah.
Then Elias was saying, went from having Wenger in charge for 22 years to having 3 managers in one season. The problems have been there to see on and off the pitch. Omar, Freddie was never going to be the man. He proved to be out of his depth in his second game, where he suffered a surprise 2-1 defeat at home to Brighton. And then Ilias as well made a good point, actually. There wasn't a bounce from when Freddie took over, because obviously we had Norwich where we drew 2-2. I'm glad he was relieved of the duties, because he felt that his legacy could have been ruined if he was coaching the team for longer. And then Taib, I've seen Taib say this before, he's said, yeah, Emery should have never become the Arsenal coach.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so let's move on to the appointment of Arteta. Now, the first question I want to ask you guys is, at the time, how did you feel about the appointment? And I'm going to start with Sam.
I think it was sort of the appointment everyone saw coming. You know, I know there were some big names thrown around and everything, but I think this was the appointment everyone saw coming. It was talked about before they got Emery. And it just seemed to fit, right? You know, his links with Arsenal, his links with Edu and all that, and him, you know, being you know, an ambitious person, you know, wanting to go into management, having done a good job as Pep Guardiola's assistant and all that. You know, I think everything was all there, you know, ready for him to come in, and I think we all sort of realised it was going to be him, and especially when the reports came out that, you know, they'd been around his house early hours of the morning, obviously thrashing out a deal with him when all that came out with
it was after we lost 3-0 to Man City. It was the same evening.
Yeah, Vinay and Raul were early hours of the morning around Arteta's house, so yeah, so I think we all sort of realised he was going that direction. And I know his appointment was sort of split the fan base a bit. You know, it was all, his guy's got no experience. You know, how could you take over such a big club with no experience, and all of this and all that, and all the fors and against, pros and cons. But yeah, I mean, for me, he wasn't my first choice, I must admit. But when he was appointed, I was willing to give him a chance, and I could see why he was appointed. I mean, it did make some sense in appointing him. It wasn't like completely out of the blue, you know, inexplicable. You know, some teams hire managers like, what the hell they hired him for, you know. But with Arteta, you could sort of halfway realise why he was hired, and I've been willing to give him a chance. And you know, so far so good, I must say. You know, I must say, he's slowly but surely improved all along the way.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say as well to people, if we do miss your chat, it's nothing personal. It's just they are moving pretty horrendously.
Yeah, there's a lot in the chat
today.
Big up everyone in the chat. Thanks for taking part.
So yeah, big up everybody in the chat. I was just scrolling through there and I see big up my mate Richard Winter on Facebook, who's following the Facebook page. And then all the regulars on YouTube. So yeah, if we do miss your chat, it's nothing personal, because it's there's quite a lot and it is moving mad. So don't think that it's done deliberately. So listen, with Arteta, for me, I was very, and I'm going to be honest here, I was very underwhelmed by the appointment. So when I found out that it was Arteta, I was sort of a bit like lacking experience. You know, he's Pep's number 2. That was kind of the only positive I was taking from it, because you know, that he obviously, listen, you've got to have some qualities about you if you're going to be Pep Guardiola's number 2. Listen, the guy's history speak for itself. But in terms of, did I think he was going to come in and work miracles? Absolutely not. I thought, Jesus, what, the board had taken a massive gamble. And then he done his first press conference, and in that press conference, he kind of won me over as much as he can do without doing anything on the pitch. Because listen, we all know that anyone can talk the talk, but you've got to walk the walk and back it up on the pitch. So when he done his first press conference, I was like, you listen to what the guy was saying, and you can see why they appointed him as manager. And I, you know, the only question I had then was, listen, it's all well and good saying that and doing that, you know, but you've got to do it on the pitch. And to an extent, he's kind of done that. You know, to an extent, he's kind of done that within reason at the moment, because obviously he's had to he had to change the whole mentality of the club from the players to the fan base. He's essentially kind of had to put the club back together, because if you remember when Arteta come in, the fans had turned on the board, the fans had turned on the players. The players, they were so low in confidence. It was so disjointed, and Arteta come in, and very quickly he changed that. In the games he took charge, which I think was probably from Bournemouth in the Christmas period. I know he was in charge for the Everton game, but listen, Freddie was still in charge then. But so probably like Bournemouth and Chelsea, those two games you could see improvements, especially in that Chelsea game. Even though we'd lost the game, you could see enough to know that you've made some improvements. And then obviously the Man United game, we obviously won, but listen, Man United are not much better than us. And then obviously in January we had a few little dips, which was to be expected. These players, he was never going to work 100% miracles. I was very quickly won over by Arteta, and I know, listen, he's still got a lot to do, but I was very quickly won over. So, Simpy, how did you feel about the appointment of Arteta when it first came out?
Pretty much, I think majority of stuff you said, Daniel, took the words out of my mouth. Really, like when I heard Arteta was in for the run-in, like most people, the questions were asked were like, why not Ancelotti? Why not? I know at the time, I think Mourinho was,
Mourinho had just gone to Tottenham. Yeah, he'd just gone to Tottenham.
Then there was other coaches like, what's his name now? Crap.
Allegri?
Yeah, that's it, Allegri, yeah.
Yeah.
There was coaches like that, and I was thinking, we already know, like as fans, and they'll know as well, the club's slowly going downhill and our opponents are slowly going up. Why are we going for this guy who's been on work experience at Man City, putting the cones out, like people say, rather than an experienced winner in multiple countries? But like you said, after the first press conference, he started to speak to the fans and to the press as like a fan himself, and he was like soft spoken. He goes straight to the point. Yeah, speaks really well. Obviously, from what we saw, I know this is a bit later on, but like from what we've seen in the dressing room, him speaking multiple languages to different players, French, Spanish, English, etc. And then just after time, he slowly won to me. It took him a while to settle in, and we know we've critiqued his lineups, we've critiqued his substitutes at the right time, and his tactics. Majority of the time, his tactics have got spot on. Sometimes they haven't, but like we said, we've got to give him the time. It was a risk on the board to think, are we going to get instant success, or is it going to take Arteta a season or something to get back up? Are we going to get to that like a better stage? But yeah, I'm happy with it so far, and see how next season continues.
Before I come to Sam Cull, I just want to read a couple of chats out. So Taib's asking you, Sam, if we win the Europa League, will you shave off all your hair?
I tell you what, no way. I'm not shaving off all my hair. I might shave off my pubes for you, Taib. You can come and inspect.
Jesus Christ. And Cheddar's is saying that Arsenal, we were going to big games expecting to get slaughtered, and now under Arteta, we're going into games. There's a lot of improvement, and he's seen a lot of improvement under Arteta. And you know what? That is the thing as well. We would go into big games going, we're going to get battered. We're going to get battered, and even to an extent, when we played Chelsea and when we played our Man City and Liverpool, we probably still went in there with that expectation. We were very, very wrong-footed with the results in all three of them games. So Sam Carr, what did you make of the appointment of Arteta, and how did you feel, and what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah. So I think here is where I will differ quite a bit with you guys. So back when Emery was appointed, right, there were a lot of noise around Arteta getting, being signed as a manager back then as well. So there were two names, Emery and Arteta, and I wanted to go with Arteta, not because obviously there's no track record, right, of Arteta, but Emery was a proven manager, who takes you to a top 4, top 5 level, right? He was never known to win the league, right? It's only in PSG that he won the league. He was someone who had won the Europa League, right? And Europa League is not a trophy that I rate very highly. It's the best out of top 5 and top 6 clubs, right? So I wanted to go with slightly experimental, a dangerous choice, right? Which has the potential to grow very high. Going with Emery is settling down for a short-term solution, and I thought post Wenger we had that opportunity, that option to experiment a bit, and we wasted that 1.5 years away, right? And that's where I felt that if Arteta had come in earlier, I think he could have done much more by now, and we would have been much more stable as a squad. Anyways, when I think last year around December when we finally got Arteta in, the reason I was happier, because there were two other options, right? One was Ancelotti, one was Mourinho. Come on, I am a huge Mourinho hater, right? And being an Arsenal fan, it's just too difficult, just too difficult to accept Mourinho as a coach, right? Obviously, the man has a lot of credentials, but then at the end of the day, he's Mourinho. The reason I did not want Ancelotti is, I think from a skill set point of view, right? Ancelotti is very similar to Wenger. He's known to be, closer to his players. He's someone who cajoles his players, loves them, adores them, and has a playing style again very similar to Wenger, right? I wanted us to have a coach who's different. At least someone who will bring in a different set of ideals, a different set of practices, a different set of goals, and that's where Arteta fit in. I mean, everyone knew it was a risk, but at the end of the day, it was a cheap risk, right? His wages would be far less than compared to someone like Mourinho, who's like, I think, 2.5 times his wages, or even Ancelotti, who's 1.5 times his wages, right? And so I was happy, but it's not like I had the expectation like, okay, things will change and we will come directly into the top 4. The expectation was this was a guy who was, not only adored by Pep, he was someone who was offered the number 2 role by, Wenger himself, by, the Spurs coach as well, right? So he was a guy who was knowledgeable. He was a guy who had, worked on the back side of things, on the operation side of things under Pep. So there were some hopes, and I was thinking that, okay, there will be, a lot of improvements, and at the same time, there will be a lot of failures as well. We will be hitting and missing for some time. But as long as we focus on the positives and see there is scope of improvement next season, that would be great. So a long answer from my end, but overall, I think I was happy. I was looking forward to it. I knew it would be something different, and that's how it turned out to be.
Yeah. So from when Arteta was appointed, and I want to ask each of you in turn. So since Arteta was appointed up until the end of the season, because obviously, exclude all the stuff with the pandemic, because I just think that's irrelevant at the moment. So from when he took over right up to now, how do you think he's done so far, Arteta? And I'm going to start with Sam.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, as I said earlier, I think he's improving all the time. He's shown, continuous improvement. What I really do like about what I'm seeing with Arteta is that he has adapted to what the team and the players need. He has, like I said before, there's 2 approaches you can take when you're coaching or managing a team. And that is, you have your own preferred style that you impose on the team, and you try and get the team to match that. And you will try and get players in to match what you want to do. to what you're used to doing. Or the harder thing to do, what most managers don't do, is you're looking at the squad you have and the players you have, and you create a tactic and a formation and strategy that matches that group of players to get the best out of that group of players you have. And that is much harder because you've got to figure it out. You've got to look at it and figure out where are the strengths, where are the weaknesses, how can we best utilize, each player, their strengths and weaknesses in the best way, and get the best out of that team, out of that unit. And when Arteta first took over, he was using a 4-3-3 and trying to use similar to what City are doing, and like other major teams around the world are doing with their 4-3-3 formation, and it just wasn't working. Our midfield just couldn't handle it. Our midfield we don't have that imposing midfielder to win the ball in the midfield and challenge in midfield. That real workhorse to create, to win the ball and create that connection with the attacking three. So it just wasn't working, and I'm so glad. And we're all starting to wonder what's going on with Arteta, because it's not really. We did have a few dodgy results and a few dodgy experiences there with Arteta not, using players out of position again, and also, the substitutes were coming late, and there were strange substitutes. What's he taking off him for, and bringing on him for, bringing on Kolasinac, Tierney, or was it Kolasinac? I remember bringing on like a left back for the last 10 minutes of a game when we were behind, things like that. There were some strange things going on, but I think that was Arteta figuring out what he needed to do and figuring out where the limitations and the strengths and the weaknesses were with this squad. And I was so glad that he found out, listen, this is not working. 4-3-3, we can't do this. And I remember saying this. I said, listen, we can't continue with 4-3-3. For me, I think we would work best with a 4-4-2. With a 4-4-2, with one of the forwards lying, maybe like a 4-1-1. A 4-4-1-1, closer to that type of formation than a straight 4-4-2. But I was thinking that would be a better formation for us. But he changed, and he found this 3-4-3 formation, which has really, that has really changed everything for us. I'm not going to go into all the depths of all the tactics and everything. That's for another. Let's save that for another show. But using those wing backs to stabilise defence took away so much of the pressure on the midfield, and it made teams have to play wide. They can't go through the middle anymore. You have to go out wide and try and cross the ball in, which is a lot better to defend than intricate fast balls through the middle. It's what we saw was so effective against City. De Bruyne, all of a sudden, De Bruyne didn't have his space to work in. He had to go out wide and become a wide midfielder. And it's just worked so well against these top teams to play that formation. And then with Tierney, his ability to bomb forward and his incredible crossing, he's given us that extra dimension on the left-hand side to work well with Aubameyang. And, it's just given us that extra wingers to move the forwards slightly into an inside forward role. So they're not out wide all the time. They can move slightly more central on the pitch, which moves them closer to the goal and creates more chances. And even though when we started off with the formation, we struggled with creating chances, but now we seem to strike that balance where we can soak up pressure, without having all those shots against us. We can soak up more of the pressure. We can get the ball, move forwards in transition, and then create chances. And with Aubameyang and his deadly finishing, we can score goals and we can win games, and that's what we've been doing so brilliantly now. And for me, I'm just so happy to see Arteta adapt to that situation and find, for me, with this current squad now, 3-4-3 is a formation that's working. It's doing a good job for us. The tactics are working. The substitutions are working. He's realising who can play where. And for me, it's going to be interesting to see now going forward if he keeps to that and he just does some adjustments with bringing in stronger players, better players in different positions, but keep playing that way, or if he actually still wants to go back to his 4-3-3, but he's going to have to bring in the personnel, the players to suit the 4-3-3. He can't do it with our current squad. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm giving Arteta top marks for being this new. I mean, being completely inexperienced, being this new, being able to adapt this quickly, find that formation and strategy that works, getting the best out of our players, getting Louise and Mustafi to play a lot better than what they were, and actually, form a half decent defence. And then actually beating Manchester City and Chelsea to win us the FA Cup within the first 6 months as Arsenal manager. I mean, for me, I have to give him top marks. I have to give him between a 9. If I'm going to go, in terms of a rating, I'm going to have to give him somewhere between 9 and 10 for what he's done and how he's adapted to everything that's been thrown at him.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Sam, that the big thing for me with Arteta is that at the start of his managerial career, he was making a lot of mistakes, and we could see that. And one of the criticisms was that he was playing his mates that he played with. Like he was picking Ozil every week, and obviously Guendouzi was playing, and Xhaka, and people were questioning him. But then very quickly, you could see that he was not making the mistakes. He was learning by his mistakes, in the sense that he quickly changed from a 4-3-3 to a 3-4-3, which actually, with these crop of players, is probably the best formation that you could do to get the best out of these players. We've been saying for the whole season that our midfield is so weak, but with the 4-3-3, having the wing backs complement the midfield and the defence and the attack, it sort of suited our lack of deficiencies in midfield and defence. And I actually liked that he managed to change it. And what I liked is that, when he done it for that first game, we all thought, I hope he sticks with that because it worked. And the fact that he did stick with it, he did stick with it. And that, many a times under Arsene Wenger, he would do something which worked, and then he would revert back to type, and we would all be going, what the fuck are you doing? Why didn't you stick with that? Because it worked. But Arteta stuck with it. And another thing that I like about Arteta is that he's sticking to his principles, no matter the big name player, and no matter the big, no matter what the player is. Like, so he's had issues with Ozil and Guendouzi, and he's stuck to his guns. He's stuck to his guns. He's not given in. He said to everybody when he joined, you're either on board with the process or you're not on board at all. And I think very quickly that he realised that Guendouzi and Ozil were not on board at all. So he's eradicated that. And I like the fact that that's happened, that he's not going back on his principles for the sake of us fans. Because we as fans, we all want instant success. And that there's a section of this fan base that is not very patient. But, in the massive job that Arteta's got and the massive rebuilding ahead, you've got to have some patience. And the fact that he can win that he won the FA Cup as he did is a great achievement. And now he's just got to get backed. Simpy, your take on the Arteta. How do you judge him from now until the end of the season?
Yeah, I think he's done. From everything you and Sam have basically covered, pretty much every point. The whole thing about you mentioned about the Mesut Ozil situation, about how we've not seen him kick a ball for a long time, and he's completely gone now. No one knows if he's got a back injury. No one knows if it's something else. Guendouzi's situation as well. Had a little problem with Guendouzi. Didn't bring him back in. He's kept him out. And then wasn't Maitland-Niles as well. Maitland-Niles was out of the team for ages, and then he brought him back in. And Maitland-Niles, like we saw in the FA Cup finals, really every game he's played ever since, he's played really well. So I'm happy with that. Like Sam said, the whole formation thing. The only thing with Arsenal compared to Man City, which you're probably not used to, is Man City will buy those players he wants in that formation in one window, where Arsenal are probably going to take him 2 or 3 windows to get him all those players he wants. So that's going to be something there. The formation change, the tactics have been spot on. The Chelsea game, I think we mentioned this, Daniel, before about Chelsea previously, before the final, how we were down to 10 men and he set up the game to make sure we just came out with a point away at Stamford Bridge, which was good. Then at home as well, when we lost, I think it was on the 29th of December, where we were playing really well and then we sort of ran out of steam. But he set it up well, and Ozil was in that game and they couldn't handle him, and Lampard had to use his tactics as well to bring on Jorginho and shut down those gaps that Ozil was getting into. His tactics have done well. There's been a couple of iffy results in there. Obviously, the Europa League one didn't help him a bit, but at the end of the season, actually, we came back and we recovered from quite an awful season to making it a good-ish season. But yeah, we go again now. Give him a summer window. Give him some money. Find out what players he wants. If he wants that party, if he wants I don't think we are going to get a centre back from there was some stuff I think Natesh said before, and it kind of makes sense. If we get a Willian in, which is looking likely now from what I've seen by everyone in the chat.
I think Willian would be a good addition.
Yeah,
I really do.
I feel like
and
a lot
of people were saying that Willian could come in and then he'll play Aubameyang through the middle.
I think was that Ilias? I think you said that.
Yeah, Ilias, and then a lot of people are alluding to the fact that they want Ozil, they want the board to pay off Ozil's contract. Which, listen, that ain't going to happen because to pay him off is 18 million, and that 18 million will probably go towards getting a player. And I think that's what they'll look at. Listen, do you know what? I've said this for time, and as much as it's going to damage the club, I'd rather have Ozil just sit there and just sit there for the year, and then just at the end of next season, just don't renew his contract. Because listen, he's not going to get used, and if he wants to collect 350 grand a week, let him, because he's going to. At the end of the day, you're not going to pay him off. No one's going to buy him. And yeah, Arteta's not going to use him, but yeah, just let him sit out the rest of his contract and just forget about it and just write it off as one of the bad situations that the fucking previous regime have left us with, because that's the only way he's ever going to leave the club. Because we ain't going to sell him. It's not going to happen. No team is going to pay his high wages, and no team is going to pay for him, pay any money towards him. And that's the only way we're getting him off the books. Sam Cowell, what do you make of Arteta from when he joined to the end of the season?
I think he started more with 4-2-3-1 kind of formation, right? With Ozil in his preferred number 10 role, and right from the start he was like, "See, I'll start with the same set of older players. I'll give them chances. If anyone fucks up, I'll take him out." Right? That was his idea. That everyone gets a second chance under me, and I assess people right from the start. What I liked about him is while we can spend a lot of time talking about formations, for him formations were fluid and have remained fluid. Be it on the attacking part or be it on the defense part, right? Our formations keep changing depending on the situation of a game, or depending on which half or which phase of the pitch the ball is in, which I really liked. He does not look at formations in a very continuous, in a very rigid manner. He started with a 4-2-3-1. He moved across. We played Diamond against City. Then we against Brighton we started something different, which changed to a 3-4-3, and that's where he continued. I honestly feel, I have a feeling that next year we will again look at a 4-4-3, 4-3-3. It's just that he's waiting for the correct set of players to be able to play in that system. Because while defensively we are a lot more solid, and which was a very important point for us for the remaining games, to be much more concise at the back. But from an attack point of view, right, we are lacking a midfielder, right? We are playing with two midfielders, and we need one more in the central spaces to be able to create more chances. So I have a feeling that he might move to a 4-3-3 next year, but it completely depends on the kind of players that he will get post this window. A couple of points that I saw in the comments as well. People pointing out about the substitutions being late. Yeah, I completely agree. I think for the initial matches, even just after lockdown, he took a lot of times in some matches. There will be a substitution only in the 80th minute, 82nd minute, even in spite of the fact, right, we had a lot of scope for improvement. And it did not change till a lot of time, and I think over the last 5-6 matches is when we see prompt substitutions coming on, right? People moving out the moment he sees Lacazette or Nketiah getting injured or getting tired, he will move them out, he'll get someone else. So that thing is getting better and better. What I really liked is a better connect between our wingers and our fullbacks, because we are attacking primarily from the wide areas. The connect that you see, from Oba under Tierney or Oba under Saka was very good, and it kept improving as the matches kept going on, right? Uh, at the end of the day, Arteta is a new coach. We cannot forget that he will make some mistakes. He might not have stepped, one foot wrong over the last few matches, but he will make mistakes. But that's how he'll improve, right? It's something that Daniel was touching upon. I remember after the City match, where we were discussing about how team under Arteta has been. He will make mistakes. He will improve from them, and that will be the way forward. Overall, looking forward to the next season, I'm happy that we did not play Ozil. Right, I cannot say that we did not need him, but at the end of the day, I think we are taking a stand and trying to force him out, and it makes sense because we can use that phrases in a better manner. I just hope that even if we do not get the kind of players that he wants, right, and obviously his first preference will be the top class players. At least from a skill set point of view, if we can provide him with players of similar skill set, he will be able to improve upon them. That is what he has shown this season, and I think that is the way ahead with him.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So what we'll do now is I'll go around each of you in turn, and just give me your ratings for the season out of 10. So, okay. So I'm gonna start with Sam. So your ratings out of 10, obviously 10 being the best, 1 being really.
We're talking about for Arsenal overall as a team now, or what we're talking?
I'm talking about the whole entire season. So 2019-2020 season.
Yeah, well, it's a disappointing season, is it? I mean, okay, you got the FA Cup win there, which is sort of a nice little, a little bit of a reprieve at the end there, but the season's been very disappointing. I mean, I've got what should I say? I've got to give it a 3, something like that. 3, yeah. It has to be because we finished way lower than what we wanted and what we expected, and if it wasn't for the FA Cup, I'll probably give it a 1, to be honest.
Yeah. Simpy?
I was going to say a 6. I know it's completely different to Suns, but yeah, I know the whole season's not been great. Started okay, then started to go downhill by Christmas, and then picked up a little bit, then went downhill a bit, then came back up a bit, and then obviously ended with a big bang. But yeah, I'd probably say a 6. I don't think any more than a 6 is worthy. I know we won a trophy, which that's the whole reason why I'm giving a 6. But if we didn't win the FA Cup, then I'd probably, same as Sam, I'd probably give a 3 if it wasn't for the FA Cup.
Yeah, and Sam Cal?
I would be close to what Simpy is saying. I think around a 6 makes sense. We had a very terrible first half of the season, but I think if you look at the second half of the season, we were somewhere around top 4 or 5, right, in terms of the points that we garnered Jan onwards. So I would give them a 6. A lot of scope for improvement. Just hoping that they remain consistent over the next season.
Yeah, and okay, so I'm going to give our season a 3 because I think there was so much expectation, and apart from the FA Cup, if it wasn't for the FA Cup, like I say, it probably would be a 0 or 1. So yeah, that's yeah. So I'm going to go for a free. I'm going to give it a free. Listen, guys, we've come to the end of the show. But listen, I want to thank each and every one of you who's took part in the chat. And I want to thank each and every one of you on the panel. So I'm going to go around each of you in turn and just give your platforms a shout out. So I'm going to start with Samko.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Daniel, for having me here. Right, everyone, you can please check out my channel on Twitter. Understanding Football is my page. You can just go and follow it. Right, I'm trying to build a page now. It's new, so a lot of inputs or feedback would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, and Simpy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Daniel, and good to see Daniel, Sam, and Sankab again. It's been a while. But yeah, my YouTube and Instagram is Simpy141. I just do I do Fortnite videos with Ozil. We do them pretty much every day. And then I'm doing a 24-hour charity live stream, and these guys are involved as well on Friday and Saturday. So please do come and check that out.
Big up, big up.
Yeah, and last but not least, Sam Greenwood.
Last but not least again. Yeah, listen, thanks again for having me, Daniel. It's always good fun to be here with you guys. Always a laugh, always some good discussions. Thanks to the panel as well for taking part. You guys always have some good input. Big up everyone in the panel. Sorry, in the chat, everyone there as well. All the regulars. Great to see you guys. And I'm on YouTube here. I'm not really doing much stuff lately on my channel. I've been haven't really been reactive there. I've got a channel called Sam Greenwood TV, but at the moment it's not very active. I normally try and do a couple of shows a week, a chat show about Arsenal football, what's going on, a bit light-hearted, and also try and do a couple of quizzes where I can. But there's just been so much going on with everything, after the restart and everything, with 2 games a week and everything going on. I just haven't really had the chance to do much myself. So we'll see how it goes now, leading up to the next season. But yeah, I'm also on all these other guys' channels. It's good to be a part of their streams as well. So yeah, if you can check out my channel, Sam Greenwood TV, and subscribe and like the content, that'd be great. It'd be a great help. And apart from that, I'll be on these other guys' channels again soon. Like Simpy's got a great 24-hour stream coming up now for a very good cause, and that's going to be good fun, and look forward to that. And so thanks for having me, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Yeah, well, guys, listen, thanks for tuning in. It's been a great show. And listen, coming up on my channel, I'm going to do it daily starting from tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a transfer show. I've decided I'm going to do that daily. So that's going to come up. So do subscribe here, and do like my Facebook page, The Blind Gooner. And then my Twitter is also The Blind Gooner as well. Listen, until tomorrow, look after yourselves, look after your families. And until next time, it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from the panel.
Bye.
Bye, folks.